Colleague Ekta Batra also caught up with Thomas Hecker, who's the Inspector for Certification of Substances Department of the European Drug Regulator, and started by asking him on the changes in the Indian company's plant compliance standards before and after the COVID pandemic. Listen in.
All the regulators were quite curious to see whether or not the compliance level of companies had changed over the lockdown period, the pandemic, and also the travel restrictions. But I've performed about 8 inspections now, post-pandemic, and the observations we have made were more or less the same as we have seen pre-pandemic.
What are the key issues, according to you, that plague Indian facilities?
Well, I just said it in the conference, over the course of the last 15 years, ever since I'm doing inspections here in India, facilities, equipment, buildings got better in terms of compliance with GMP, but now we were focusing on the quality management system of the companies, a robust, strong management system that really ensures the quality of medicines, and this is where we were focusing on.
So there has been no shortage of drugs in the European Union because of any kind of compliance issues faced in India?
There are a lot of shortages of drug shortages around the world, as also just said by the director of CEDAR, US FDA, and we face in Europe the same. The reasons are quite different, and it's very difficult also to tackle them. This goes from supply chain issues, this continues with quality issues, quality defects, and also GMP non-compliances we have seen as European regulators.
What about data integrity in India? Are you seeing data integrity issues in Indian facilities? Because that used to be a problem in the past. Is it as much?
Well, I think many Indian companies have taken actions in order to address those problems which were raised or starting to be raised about 10 years ago. And I think these efforts that were undertaken paid off.
Generally, what we've seen is that the US drug regulator is much more stringent as compared to their European and English counterparts. There are much more stricter compliance and regulatory actions from the US FDA. Is there a difference in terms of the two inspections and the type of inspections that take place?
Well, this is difficult to say. The European regulators as well as the US FDA regulators, they are part of the Pharmaceutical Inspection Convention Scheme, also called PICS. And PICS does deploy the same GMP requirements which are applicable in the different regions. So in general, I don't think that there are any differences in the applicability.
And is there a lot of exchange of information now that takes place with the US drug regulator and the European drug regulators? And how has that changed your inspections of Indian facilities?
There is a lot of communication and exchange of information. So what we try to avoid by all means are duplication of inspections. In the past, more than 15 years ago, it was really like regulators were, one left and the other one just popped in. Now these days, we talk to each other. There is for the active ingredients, for instance, a program since more than 10 years in place where the regulators put together what they are planning to do, so that either inspections can be postponed by one agency while the other one is doing it, and what the agency who is doing inspection is then recognized, or the outcome is recognized by the other regulators. So all to avoid duplication of inspections and also to channel the inspectional resources.